Hello. Okay, we're live. Um, Welcome. Today, we're going to do a different type of live. I'm going to share um, my breast cancer journey from last year, 2024. Started in March, if I recall, and finished in December. And I think it's different because I never talk about me on social media. Um, I share about the work we do. I share, I guess, what I can to help actors. But I always refrain from sharing about my personal life. And during my cancer journey, a lot of friends um, asked me to share. They said the way you deal with this is so different. It could help many people, and I was very protective. And I said, "No, this is for me. I'm living this for me." And not that I wanted to hide it, but I felt that I really wanted to stay with myself and to process with myself. And I actually disconnected from most of my friends. I didn't get on the phone much. Um, I, I, I did not want to share. I wanted to reconnect with me, only with me. And so the live is different because I'm sharing about myself. I'm post, if one can say post, with cancer, um, because I'm now under medication for 5 or 10 years for that. But I'm feeling the fear. I'm feeling some contraction in my throat, in my heart, in my solar plexus, because I don't usually talk about myself. And this time I felt like it was time to share what I've gone through and what I've learned, because I think at this stage, I feel like it's behind me. And I think that what I have learned can maybe benefit whoever is moving through something difficult, whether it's health wise or adversity, any type of adversity. Um, so yeah, it's different. I'm afraid. I'm contracted inside. I really feel it. It's strange. The tears are right there, and it's so new for me to talk about myself on social media because I've just never done it. I don't use social media myself, so it's strange for me. So I think I'm going to start with the beginning. I have never really thought about cancer myself. Um, I don't usually really, I'm not obsessed with healthcare. I usually take care of myself and I'm very healthy. Um, and I eat healthy and I move and I do so much work on myself and with others that it's just something that's very foreign to me, except that there's been illness in my family. So my daughter was born with a very rare blood disorder. And so since she was born, I've been in hospitals a lot, in intensive care, in surgery for her. Um, and it's ongoing and it's genetic, so it stays, and it's a rare disease, so there's no cure. And she's transfusion dependent, so she gets transfusions. And that's been such a heavy thing to move with that I thought I was immune to more health stuff. It was so heavy, and we were doing so well with moving with it that I thought, well, the universe doesn't do that. It doesn't add up on health shit once you're dealing with a very heavy one. And well, the universe does whatever it wants. And so um, I got a call. I felt a lump. I had it checked and then got a call from my OB saying, yeah, you have stage 2 breast cancer. So that was in the beginning devastating and scary and horrifying and unconceivable, considering the amount of health burden that I was already experiencing. And so I do what I do. I start feeling the fear and the sadness and the rage and the confusion and the doubt and, you know, the messiness that it brought. And a friend of mine, a very dear friend of mine, to not say my best friend in LA, or one of my best friends, had a similar diagnosis, very similar, if not totally the same, 3 days before me. So that was completely crazy. And so we connected a lot around that. And right away, as soon as we had both felt the feelings of sadness and rage and frustration and despair and fear and everything that comes with it, we started making cancer jokes pretty fast. And so that did really help to lighten the experience. And I'm not a believer that things happen to us. So there's a lot of talk in our community about that. So for those who don't know me, we have a community of actors and artists, athletes, therapists, anyone who's into performing and is into being their true self tends to join our community. And so we have a lot of talk about things don't happen to us, they happen for us. So no matter what events are coming into your life, they are coming to enable you to move through something and expand into like an upgraded version of yourself. And it was very clear this time that not only it was happening for me, but my soul at a certain level had called this cancer in order to make me look at things that I would never ever have looked at without its help. So cancer was an ally, cancer was a teacher, and cancer was going to take me through some experiences that were going to teach me things I absolutely needed to learn and taste and discover and experience as a human being, and that I would never, ever, ever have had access to if it wasn't for the cancer forcing me to experience them. Because when you have something like cancer, and I usually don't like to use the word, actually, when I heard the news, I was like, okay, I'm not calling it cancer, it's too heavy. I'm just, I have something to deal with and I'm going to deal with it. We called it in my family the booby chat. So it was my boob chatting with me about things that I needed to learn. Let's call it the booby chat. So the booby chat was going to really remind me all the time, because it is a serious illness, was going to remind me to do the work it was asking me to do, because basically it doesn't really negotiate, right? The word death is very close to cancer. You can die from it. And therefore, it's not like a nudge from the universe. It's not like a little push that says, hey, maybe you need to look at that. It's like grabbing you by the hair and putting you in your doo-doo and saying, you need to look at this now, or else, something else is going to happen. And so I decided to work with cancer on with very different angles. I wanted to go with Western, I wanted to go with Eastern, I wanted to go with integrative, and I wanted to go with spiritual, most importantly. So Western means surgery, chemo, radiation. And because I had what they found to be in the surgery a very aggressive version of a stage 2 breast cancer, chemo was really on the table. And because it very aggressive means it moves very fast, it can spread very fast, and so you don't really have the luxury to contemplate just going alternative because it moves so fast that it's uncontrollable. So my take on it was, I'm going to go with it with all the approaches. And so Western, all of those treatments in hospital, surgery, chemo, and radiation. Eastern, basically I had a Japanese doctor in New York who was doing some quantum healing and some herbs or herbs, I don't know how you say it, Asian herbs, and integrative, which is a discipline that kind of mixes alternative approaches with repurposed medication and Western. So it really takes care of your immune system. It takes care of building your foundation to make sure that your body can take the Western treatments and your immune system can push away the cancer, can take care of it itself. And the spiritual work or the woo work or whatever you want to call it, the divine work of actually listening to the messages, to what needs to be alchemized, to what needs to be felt, to what needs to be revealed inside of myself, to what brought the cancer on an emotional level, and therefore what can move it through. And as I did all of these approaches, there are, I mean, I'm trying to sum up a year in the 10 minutes that we have left because I have a session afterwards. So I'm going to do my best. But I think the first thing that that was new to me and that I would never have had access to if it wasn't for cancer or the booby chat was that when I started chemo, a friend of mine, thank you Joni if you see this, really insisted that I do a meal train. Meal train, for the ones who are not in the US, I don't know if you know what it is in Europe or in other continents, is someone organizes with all your friends a way to deliver food or financial help to you so you can just order food and you don't have to cook while you're going through the treatments. I'm a single mom, so I was alone with the kids, so I definitely needed that help. But I think she had to ask me 3 or 4 times and insist. And I kept saying, no, I'm not sick. It's just something I have to deal with. It's a booby chat. I'm taking care of it. I don't need help. I can do it. Because I didn't want to feel like a victim or like a sick person. I didn't want to show anyone that I needed the help. I guess I have a strong muscle about doing things by myself since childhood. And so it felt like shameful to ask for help. And she wouldn't quit. And I think when I had my first round of chemo, she called me. I'm still losing hair. And texted me, I can't remember. And she was like, you are going to let me do this for you. I've done it for 3 or 4 other people. I have experience with this. You need the help. You are just going to send me right now your meal preferences. And to cut a long story short, she organized the meal train. I surrendered because I had just had chemo and I was a little more surrendered than usual. And that is the first deep, and I'm feeling very emotional, deep breakthrough and lesson for me was when this meal train started. Because I went from perceiving the world as a somewhat dangerous place or somewhat threatening place to live in. I didn't even know I was perceiving the world that way. But when people started putting food at my door, sending money, sending food, giving me vouchers to go to the most expensive places where everything is organic here in LA, so that I, myself, and my children would have food, it really blew my heart open because I was invited and had no choice but to realize that the world is not dangerous. People are not mean. People are not threatening. The world is loving. In that meal train were people I have never talked to, were people I thought I didn't have a good relationship with, were people I hadn't heard of for years, were people who were giving an insane amount of money in order to help me. And it really quieted down my nervous system and its perception of everything's dangerous, I need to do everything by myself, into actually relaxing and into actually receiving the help that was coming my way, and therefore healing. Because as I was going through chemo, you can't really tell because I still have my hair, but I did the dry ice cap during chemo, which is why I kept my hair. It fell on the sides, as you can see here. It's growing now, so I have little hair everywhere. But I was shedding so much hair. It was very hard to cook because there would be hair in the soup, basically. And also the energy. I was fasting when I was doing chemo because that's the integrative protocol. For 3 days I was fasting. So I wasn't strong. And it was hard for me to take care of my children and to cook for them and to go shopping when I was unwell. And when that help started coming in, I tasted a new sensation, which was I can relax. I don't have to put away fires. I don't have to fight. I don't have to climb a mountain. I can just rest. I can nap in the afternoon. I'm taken care of. I can receive and I can trust the world. And that sensation, I feel it here so much, is so moving, was so moving for me to realize that I can trust the world. I'm still telling it to myself right now because it's an endless lesson and it keeps giving. People that were close and people that were so not close, whose name I didn't know. I saw the list of people. I was like, I don't know who this person is. Were sending me food and contributions for me to get food. How crazy is that? Like, the universe is benevolent. And I was in bliss. I was in chemo and in bliss of the lesson it was giving me, that I would never, ever have allowed myself to receive help from people. I would never, ever have said, I can't do it alone, because that was my makeup. That's how I was raised, or that was my trauma response. And I would have never tasted the world is safe. Thank you. I am Sandra. The universe is benevolent. People are kind. Everything is love. I knew that intellectually. But I hadn't given myself the opportunity to taste it. And I tasted it for 3 months of chemo and more. Probably 4 months it lasted. And it was incredible. To know that I can trust the world is incredible. So that was my first big lesson. And from that lesson, I went into radiation. And radiation was 1 month every day for 30 days. And I was less scared. But I was hearing a lot of things also about radiation. About how it could put you on your knees, about how it would burn your skin. It's scary. And I had received so much, I was in so much trust from the chemo through the hardship, that when I arrived in radiation, the fear of radiation, I felt it. Just like I felt the diagnosis in the first time, I allowed myself to feel the feelings. And in that machine, in that first radiation day that I had, my fear alchemized into love. It means that I was under this machine and all I could see was the love that had been put in that machine to help people like me going through diseases in their life. The love of all the nurses around me, the love of everyone who's built the hospital, everyone who's financed it, that everything I was seeing every single day I was going to radiation was love for me that I could receive with an open heart. And so I was in that radiation machine in love with all of it every single day, and basically training my nervous system to receive, to not perceive things as dangerous, but to open my heart and receive the love, no matter how hard it may have been. And sure, it burnt. And sure, it's uncomfortable to go to radiation every day. But to get to a place where that world doesn't need to be scary, but you can perceive it as love, basically changed my frequency, changed how I was going through this. It made me feel so much love, so much bliss. I called it radiation porn. It was so giving to me. It made me feel so happy. It created so much happy and love chemistry in my body that I was then able to receive some information about a documentary that I then started in the middle of radiation therapy, and that I'll talk to you guys about another time, that I'm still in the middle of shooting. It was incredible to go from fear to love. It was really incredible to get that teaching every day of you can just be here, open your heart and receive. No matter what is happening, it's there to love you. It's there to give you an experience. It's there to care for you, which I knew from my daughter, from her experience with her disease. I did get that message too, that it was actually the most wonderful gift in my life, was to have her health challenge or her health event really teach me to open my heart, expand, and receive the love, the opportunity to be there for my child who's going through that, rather than go, shit, why is it happening to me? It's horrible, it's sad, and I'm going to be depressed. I'm not saying that's a wrong path, but that's not a path that worked for me. The path that worked for me was, if these things are happening for me, if I'm calling them in, I'm calling them in so that they explode my heart, so that they give me the opportunity to experience ecstasy and bliss and divine life, which is what I think I think all of us came to this planet to experience life, to taste it, to feel it. And so that comes with things that are sticky or hard, and that comes with things that are easy. But all of it is love pushed into our existence in order to enable us to have an experience. And so to finish up, and it's crazy I have 1 minute, what it also taught me is that I wasn't resonating with the way that I was doing business anymore. I wasn't resonating with the online world, with the millions of offers, with the millions of advertisers trying to get your attention and your money, selling you things for $0 or selling you things for huge amounts of prices so that you have access to the big coach or to the big professor. I didn't like it. And so when I came back to work, it was obvious that I had to change something, because I still love doing what I do when I am in connection with someone that I'm working with, but I didn't like the having to show up to get people's attention in a tsunami of advertisers trying to get people's attention to sell them something that's going to fix them or that's going to make them feel better. I'm about the opposite. I'm about, you need to undo all of the things so that you can be yourself. and you're perfect already and there's nothing that you need to learn. And so I wanted to maintain that, but I wanted to show up in a different way, which is why it taught me the biggest lesson I could ever learn about gifting, which is why we're doing an event now from the 10th to the 14th. The link is probably in the bio, where we are trying, and it's terrifying because I don't know if it's going to work, and it's very risky, but we are trying to share the event at the price that makes sense for you. So instead of saying, here's the workshop that we're going to do, here's the price, what we're doing is, here's the workshop that we're going to do, here's what we're gifting you, you choose what you can gift to us. And in doing that, I am practicing trusting that yes, we are one. We are a big family on this planet. And if we take care of each other, everything flows. Just like the tree is giving us the oxygen and taking the CO2 without asking for money or for exchange. If you look at the universe, everything is constantly gifting, and is never expecting anything in return. And when it gifts, the flow of life is respected. And so this is what I'm attempting in this event, is to gift to you and to therefore practice trusting that if I do that, everything will flow and it feels better for everyone. And it's wonderful for us to actually connect like in a refuge, in a shelter, away from all the online offers that are trying to get your attention and your money. And it's a chance for us as a company to actually walk out talk, since we're helping actors to undo the conditioning so that they can be back into their freedom, into their wholeness, into their oneness, and that they can experience that. Why don't we do the same as a business? Why don't we actually walk out talk and do business as if we were one, and not we're something, we're going to give you something, but you need to give me something in exchange. Exchange is capitalism, and I'm more for nature, flow, and love. So it's a practice. We're trying it out. If it makes sense to you, you can check it out. But I would never have come to this place without my booby chat, my cancer. So I'm very grateful to have experienced this challenging experience. It's given me more than I could ever have dreamed of experiencing. I'm hoping and terrified that I'll be able to share as much as I can with you. I'm hoping that this new system will benefit everyone and will be sustainable for us, so that we can function in a way that is, for me, really the dream world, where we can reconnect. To me, everyone's an orphan. We're all disconnected from source and plugged into conditioning, capitalism, patriarchy, whatever you want to call it. So this attempt is unplugging from the system, unplugging from the conditioning, from the patriarchy, from the system, from capitalism, and plugging back into oneness, plugging back into each other, and seeing how this will open our hearts and make us feel like it's meant to be, like this is what we came for, that this is pure, that this is universal love, and that this is so ecstatic to live. All right, I'm late for my Q&A, so I'm leaving you guys. It was wonderful to share this. I'll probably do it again because I'll probably forgot about half of what I had to say, but I'm happy I could finally share it. All right, thank you. Bye.